Have you ever looked at a $100 pair of shoes and thought, wow, what a steal, only because you saw a $1,200 pair first? Or maybe you stayed in a job, an investment, or even a streaming subscription way too long just because you didn't want to waste the money. That's not bad money management. That's your brain playing tricks on you. And it does it all the time. Welcome to Everyone's Talking Money, the show where we break down the emotional side of finances. No guilt, no shame, just truth. I'm Shari, and today we're diving deep into the sneaky psychological forces that hijack your money decisions. This episode is all about the hidden biases that keep smart, capable people stuck in not so smart money habits. We're talking anchoring, loss aversion, confirmation bias, present bias, and those two especially slippery ones, optimism bias and social proof. If you've ever wondered why you're stuck in the same financial loops, why you're not saving as much as you want, why you overspend, and why you're not where you thought you'd be, this episode is for you. Because when you understand the wiring, you can finally start to rewire it. Let's go. Let's first start talking about anchoring bias. Anchoring bias is your brain's tendency to latch on to the first piece of information it gets and then treat it like it's gospel. Let's say you walk into a store and you see this beautiful pair of shoes. Then you quickly realize they're designer shoes and they're $1,200. You roll your eyes and move on. But then as you're walking around the store, you spot another pair of shoes just as cute for $100 and you think, wow, what a great deal. Is it though? Is that $100 pair of shoes a great deal? If those had been the first ones that you saw, would you have thought, they're kind of pricey and they're really not that cute? That's anchoring. You're taking the first bit of information that you receive and everything else is being judged based upon that. And I know that was an extreme example. So let me show you how anchoring sneaks up on you in real life. And honestly, this happens to me all the time. So let's say you're going out to dinner with your friends for a birthday and you want to buy a new dress. And you're going to hit up Amazon for some fast fashion. And you say, I'm not spending more than $35 for a dress. You start scrolling and you see the different dresses and you find that one that's cute for 35 bucks. Okay, fine. But let me keep on looking. Then you see one you really like, but it's $60. Okay, well, almost double what I wanted to spend. Let's keep on looking. And you keep scrolling. And then you see one for $50. And you're like, oh, this is cute. It's cheaper than the expensive one. It's not that far off of the 35 and you get it. And then what happens? You thought you got a great deal on a dress because the one you really liked was 60 some dollars, but you still end up spending $15 more than what you were planning on. That is anchoring. And how often does that play out in your day-to-day life? Think about how this can impact our financial decisions. Let's look at investing. If I asked you where Apple stock will be in 3 months, your first instinct is to look at where it is today and make a guess from there. But today's price isn't a predictor. It's just an anchor. It's a random point in time. And anchoring to a single number, especially one without any context, can lead to bad calls. Other places where anchoring bias shows up. In salary negotiations, you base your ask off of your last salary, not your market value, because you're thinking, well, I make $75,000 right now. I'd love to make 85, so that's what I'm going to ask for. Instead of looking at what does this job actually pay or what should it pay? You're just basing it off of, well, let me get more than what I had in the past. Also, house hunting. House prices are crazy right now, but that first dreamy listing sets the bar and everything else gets judged against it, fairly or not. Or conversely, you go into buying a house with a budget, you see what your budget really gets you, and then your realtor says, oh, let's just swing by this house that could be $200,000 above your budget. Now that sets the bar, and everything else is being compared against that. And that's anchoring. They're now anchoring you to that higher priced house. And even if the next house you see is slightly less expensive than that dreamy listing, it still could end up being more than what your original budget was. We even anchor our financial identity. If you grew up thinking $50,000 was a high income, you may struggle to feel worthy of making more, even when you're earning six figures. That internal anchor creates a ceiling on your growth. Being aware of anchoring is key. So next time you catch yourself making a money decision, ask, what number am I anchoring to? Is that number relevant? And does it actually matter? A second money bias is loss aversion. If you've ever held on to a terrible investment or a crappy subscription service just because you didn't want to, quote unquote, waste the money, congratulations, you've met loss aversion. Loss aversion is the idea that we hate losing twice as much as we enjoy gaining. In other words, the pain of losing $100 is way more intense than the joy of gaining $100. Here's how loss aversion shows up. You stay invested in a stock that's tanking because if you sold it, that means you admit you're wrong. You avoid trying something new financially, starting a business, switching jobs, or investing because the potential loss feels riskier than the potential reward feels worth it. You keep renting instead of buying a home because you're afraid you'll lose money, even if you're in a market where buying is financially smarter. Or how about this one? You keep wearing that shirt that just doesn't fit right, and you never feel good wearing it because you spent $50 on it and you don't want to waste it. Why does loss aversion matter? Because a lot of smart women are letting fear of loss keep them financially stuck. Playing it safe feels responsible, but sometimes it's just a dressed up version of fear. I've seen clients stay in dead end jobs for years because they're too afraid to start over. But if the cost of staying is burnout, resentment, or financial stagnation, is that really safer? The fix: start small. Get used to taking calculated risks and seeing the loss as data, not as disaster. Not every investment has to be a win to move you forward. In fact, some of your biggest wins will come from what didn't work if you're willing to let it go. And for the love of everything, please just donate that shirt already. A third bias is called confirmation bias. Your brain loves being right, even if it means being broke. Confirmation bias is when we seek out information that validates what we already believe, and we ignore or discount anything that challenges it. Be honest, your Google searches will agree with me. You're usually Googling what confirms what you already believe. Have you ever said something like, I'm just not good with money, and then ignored the hundreds of articles or podcast episodes that told you otherwise? Or maybe you think the market is too risky, so you only read doom and gloom headlines and skip all the stories about people who built wealth by investing smartly. Confirmation bias protects your ego, but it destroys your growth, and it shows up without you even realizing it. You might follow only influencers who share your fear of debt, or nod along to TikToks about how budgeting is oppressive, even if deep down you know you need more structure. The remedy? Get curious. Intentionally read or listen to opinions that challenge you. You don't have to agree with them, but the act of entertaining another point of view can unlock new levels of financial clarity. And remember, new beliefs create new results, but you have to question the old ones first. A fourth bias is present bias. Present bias is your brain's love affair with instant gratification. It's why you chose the $150 night out over the $150 you could have put into your Roth IRA. We all do it. It's okay. It's not. It is, but it's not. Future you has goals, but present you just wants tacos with guacamole, concert tickets, and a new jumpsuit for Instagram. This is one of the biggest reasons people struggle with long-term savings and investing. The reward feels so far away and the fun feels so close. We don't make financial decisions in spreadsheets. We make them in real life, and real life is filled with temptation. Present bias shows up when you constantly choose fun now over freedom later. You don't set up automatic savings because you think you'll just remember to do it. And we can all admit you don't remember. You keep saying you'll start budgeting next month, and next month never comes. What helps? Automation. Take your willpower out of the equation. Set up auto transfers into your savings, retirement accounts, and investments. Trick your brain into doing the right thing without having to constantly resist the wrong one. Do things today that your future self will thank you for. And automating savings is a great way to pay your future self. You're not going to remember that taco in 15 years, but you are going to be appreciative that you saved into your Roth IRA. Also, build in mini milestones. Break that big, scary 10-year goal into tiny monthly markers. Your brain loves short-term wins, and that is so much more gratifying. Then I give you permission to buy yourself a little treat after your short-term wins. The four cognitive biases that hijack our financial decision making are anchoring bias, loss aversion, confirmation bias, and present bias. Next, I'm diving into two more biases that are a little bit sneakier and honestly, a lot more dangerous in the digital age. These are the modern day money traps that thrive in the age of Instagram, lifestyle branding, hustle culture, and magical thinking. The first one is optimism bias. It's the belief that it'll all work out, even when your actions say otherwise. Optimism bias is that voice in your head that whispers, it'll be fine, things will work out, I'll start saving next month, I'll pay off that credit card after this trip, I'll just make more money later. It's not toxic positivity. It's not positivity in general. It's lazy hope. It's your brain trying to comfort you without requiring you to do anything different. Here's what optimism bias looks like in real life. You don't have an emergency fund, but you convince yourself you'll never really need one. You have a good job, your income's steady, you're not worried about losing it, you don't own a house, so what really is an emergency anyway? Or you put off your retirement savings because you assume you'll make more money later. I mean, we have 30 plus years until retirement. The problem is, even though you're not doing anything to increase your income or improving your investing habits, and you just assume when you make more money in the future, you can just double up on your savings then. But you're not thinking about what your expenses could look like later down on the road. Odds are you'll own a home. You may have children. Things will just be more expensive. And you won't be able to save double to make up for the fact that you put off retirement savings for the first decade of your working life. Or how about you keep saying, I'll start budgeting next month for the sixth month in a row? Now, I get it. Budgeting is my least favorite thing ever, and it doesn't work for everyone. Go back to previous episodes to learn more about that. But find a way of budgeting that works for you. It may just be putting some guardrails in place. It may be giving yourself an allowance for the things that you like to spend a lot of money on. Or it may be saving first. When your paycheck comes in, save first, then spend what's left over versus paycheck comes in, I spend it, I'll save what's left over, but then shocker, nothing's left over. And to be clear, having hope is healthy. Don't get me wrong. But optimism bias isn't hope. It's the reason so many people fall behind financially, even if they're smart, capable, and motivated. It gives them just enough comfort to delay action, but not enough clarity to make a change. Here's the danger. Optimism bias often hides behind busyness. You'll say, things are just hectic right now, or next month I'll have more time, or once I get past X, whether it's a vacation or through a performance review or paying off this one bill that you have left, I'll get serious. And it sounds reasonable, but it's the same pattern over and over again. So, how do you fight optimism bias? Replace vague hope with measurable plans. Don't say, I'll start saving soon. Say, I'm transferring $100 to my savings account this Friday. Set calendar reminders for your money check-ins. Make the future real. And stop outsourcing responsibility to future you. She's busy enough. Help her out now. Here's a mindset shift that changed everything for me. Hope is not a strategy. Planning is. You can believe in a better financial future and create the systems to make it happen. Those two things are not in conflict. They're teammates. So get them working together. Let's go through some real life examples of optimism bias. Because optimism bias sounds abstract until you realize it's everywhere in your money life. First example, you keep your student loans on autopay, but you've never actually looked at the amortization schedule. You assume you're making progress because you're paying it every month, but you never question whether refinancing, consolidating, or aggressively paying it off would serve you better. Why? Because facing it just feels too hard. And optimism bias says, it's fine, I'm handling it, I'm making the payments. Another example, you don't have health insurance because your job doesn't offer it. And you've been meaning to look into the marketplace, but months go by and you think, I'm pretty healthy, I'll be okay. Until one unexpected ER visit shows you how optimism isn't cheaper than planning. Third example, you haven't looked at your 401k since really you started working at your current employer. You tell yourself, I'm investing, I'm contributing every paycheck. That's enough, right? But the truth is, you never chose an investment for your 401k. All of these years, your allocations have been sitting in a money market, earning nothing. These are all examples of passive optimism, where we believe that forward motion is happening even when we're standing still. The fix. Every quarter, pick one area of your financial life to get honest about. That's it. Shine the light there. Make the invisible visible. Then take action. Here's our next bias that sneaks up on you. Social proof bias, aka everyone else is doing it. If you ever felt the urge to upgrade your car, upgrade your house, your wardrobe, or even your career because everyone else seems to be doing it, that's social proof bias at work. Keeping up with the Joneses. We are all social creatures. Our brains are wired for belonging. And in the absence of certainty, we often assume that the group must know better. But what happens when your group is broke, burnt out, or straight up bluffing? Social proof bias shows up like this. You lease a luxury car because it seems like everyone else at my job does, or you overspend on a vacation, wedding, or birthday party because your friends always go all out. You panic buy a stock or jump into crypto because people on Reddit or TikTok said it's going to the moon. Social proof turns financial comparison into justification. You're not just spending $6,000 on a bachelorette trip, you're celebrating like everyone else. You're not buying a $400 facial routine, you're just investing in your glow. You're not blowing your budget on daily delivery, you're normal, everyone else is. But let's be honest, we rarely have the full story. That influencer showing off her $900 dress and trip to Paris, she might be $30,000 in credit card debt. That couple who just bought a home in your dream neighborhood, they may have borrowed or been gifted money from their parents or be underwater with their mortgage or house poor. We compare our behind the scenes to everyone else's highlight reel, and then we let that comparison set the bar. So, how do we fight social proof bias when it's so prevalent? One, start by owning your values. What matters to you financially? What does success mean on your terms? Two, filter your feed. Unfollow or mute accounts that trigger comparison, even if you like them. Three, get curious. When you feel the urge to match someone else's spending or lifestyle, pause and ask, what story am I telling myself right now? And here's a reminder you might need. Just because something is common doesn't make it wise. Debt is common. Burnout is common. Regret is common. That doesn't mean you have to normalize it. To make matters worse, optimism and social proof bias don't just exist independently. They often work together. And that combination, that is where people get into serious financial trouble. Here's how. You see a peer's lavish vacation. Social proof makes you want to match it. Optimism bias says, you'll make more money later, it's fine. And what happens? You're now going on that lavish vacation. Or you buy into hustle culture. Social proof says, everyone has multiple income streams. Optimism bias says, you'll figure it out eventually. Lastly, you ignore your debt. Social proof says, everyone has it. I mean, look around us. Optimism bias says, I'll get serious about my debt next year. The result, when optimism and social proof bias come together, lifestyle inflation, anxiety, and misaligned goals. It's like driving 80 miles an hour towards a destination you never chose. The fix? Come back to your numbers, your goals, your values, not your neighbors, not your cousins, not that friend on Facebook that you haven't seen since fourth grade, yours. And then run your financial decisions through this 3-question filter. Is this aligned with what I truly want long term? Is this based on math or just vibes? And am I trying to prove something, and to whom? If you answer honestly, the truth gets loud quickly. Now let's go through some practical tools to rewire your biases. Let's wrap this up with some actionable steps, because awareness is great, but implementation is where the transformation happens. Tool number 1, the if-then rule. Write out plans like, if I want to make a large purchase, then I'll wait 24 hours and review my goals first. Or if I see someone's lifestyle that triggers comparison, then I'll journal why it hit me. This gives your brain a decision-making framework. You're not relying on willpower, you're following a protocol. Tool number 2, Value-based filtering. Write down your top 3 financial values. They might be freedom, stability, flexibility, generosity, or fun. Then ask, does this spending decision support one of these values? If it doesn't, it's probably social proof or optimism bias doing the talking. Tool number 3, Future You Fridays. Every Friday, or whatever day of the week you prefer, take 20 minutes to do one thing future you will thank you for. Review your accounts, cancel a subscription, set up an auto transfer, increase your 401k contribution by 1%, watch one YouTube video on investing, go back in the archives and listen to an Everyone's Talking Money episode. Shameless plug there. Small steps consistently applied beat giant resolutions that never happen. Okay, so let's wrap this up. We just unpacked a lot of mental wiring, a lot that you may not even realize you are suffering from. So let's quickly recap the 6 money biases that might be quietly running the show in your financial life. Anchoring bias, when you cling to the first number you see and use it as your frame of reference, even if it's totally irrelevant. Loss aversion, when the fear of losing money stops you from making smart, strategic decisions that could help you grow. Confirmation bias, when you only seek out information that validates what you already believe, keeping you stuck in old money stories. Present bias, when your brain favors instant gratification and short-term wins, sabotaging your long-term goals. Optimism bias, when you count on the future magically fixing everything without changing your habits in the present. And social proof bias, when you let other people's spending and lifestyle choices become the yardstick for your own. Now listen, none of this means you're broken. These aren't personal flaws. They're predictable patterns. But once you name them, you can interrupt them. You can pause. You can pivot. And every single time you do, you're building a stronger, smarter, more aligned relationship with your money. If this episode helped you spot a bias you're working on, send me a message at Everyone's Talking Money. I'd love to hear what clicked for you. And before you go, follow the show on your favorite podcast app so you never miss an episode. Leave a quick rating and review. It seriously helps more people discover the show. Keep the conversation going with me on Instagram at Everyone's Talking Money. And remember, money should be a tool to live life on your terms, not someone else's.